Thank you everyone for joining for this webinar, and thank you for for presenting this presentation. And we'll just get back to your presentation and let you take the floor. And thank you very much for everyone joining. And this is going to be recorded. You can have the recording later on after the webinar, and I'll let you it. Thank you, Minoo.
Okay, thank you, Ahmed. First of all, I wanted to thank Ahmed and Analytics Club for managing and administrating the whole process. Hi, everyone. As you know, the topic of today's webinar is how to improve artificial intelligence-based recruitment and selection systems by using data analytics. So I have a very quick pretest for you guys, and I want you to put in the chat yes or no, depending on the answer that you think is the correct answer. Do you know what are the benefits and limitations of AI-based recruitment and selection systems? Yes or no, put in the chat. For question 1, I give you 1 minute. And then, do you know how data analytics can improve AI-based recruitment and selection system? Please put in the chat so I know that you are here and we get a sense of their level of your knowledge. Okay, great. So let's go to the learning objectives. So at the end of this presentation, you should be able to describe the benefits and limitation of those recruitment and selection systems which use artificial intelligence, which for, we put AI, which is an abbreviation for artificial intelligence. Also, you should be able to explain how data analytics can help these systems to improve with higher efficiency and effectiveness, and recommend ways to improve AI-based recruitment selection using data analytics. If you have any questions, please take a note of that. And at the end of this webinar, I will address those questions. Okay, artificial intelligence or AI in recruitment and selection. As you know, with AI, specifically generative AI advancement, AI has been started and now is extensively used when organizations try to hire and select job candidates. So they use AI system in several ways, even for locating potential job candidates. So in sourcing job candidates, artificial intelligence can be used. Artificial intelligence can also screen the resumes. So the same job that used to be a human job now can be done by artificial intelligence. So it's very faster, and potentially it can be bias-free, but we will address and we will discuss if it's really free of biases or it produces the same biases. Artificial intelligence can be used for assessing job candidates. And what do we mean by that? It means that you can send a link, which is basically created in a way that an artificial intelligence system can conduct the interview instead of a human, so you can assess job candidate. Also, artificial intelligence can suggest a list of the best job candidates to hire. And also, finally, which is at a very advanced level, it can predict the likelihood of a job candidate's success based on historical data. So what are the strengths of applying AI in recruitment and selection? I just shared with you what are the areas that AI can be used. And now we want to discuss what are the strengths. It enhances efficiency because it's faster, right? It can review thousands of resumes in a couple of minutes, while a human can do this in several days, and probably because of getting tired, it starts making mistakes. So artificial intelligence can do this faster, so it offers more efficiency. It assumes that because artificial intelligence is not a human and it's bias-free, it can do a better and more objective assessment of job candidates. And we can practice and improve consistency over these steps of recruitment and selection by using artificial intelligence. So what are the weaknesses of artificial intelligence? So all of you, or whoever who is interested in artificial intelligence, should be aware that artificial intelligence works basically with machine learning. And machine learning means you feed in information into the system, into the artificial intelligence system, and it learns through the patterns that this is the way that I should do the task. So because it's heavily relied on machine learning, it can reproduce the same biases. As an example, if job candidates do not have the same keywords in their resumes that AI uses as a criteria, it excludes some job candidates whose resumes had other key terms which were not the same as the key terms that you fed into the system. Or when artificial intelligence tries to measure soft skills, it cannot be done properly by AI. So some candidates who have a very high level soft skills that we are really looking for might be passed over by AI. So reliance on algorithms might result in some mistakes. So you feed in resumes, and if you check the results, you can see that those resumes which did not have the same keywords are passed over by AI, are excluded, or those candidates whose soft skills are the best match for the position are again passed over by AI. So this is a huge mistake, or weakness is a better word. It's a huge weakness for AI-based recruitment and selection system. So to elaborate on the role of machine learning, I added this slide to the presentation. So AI rely on machine learning to develop algorithm. And what do we mean by machine learning? So previous decisions about screening resumes, previous decisions about the final list of job candidates who eventually got hired. All of them are used by AI. We feed into the system these previous decisions, this historical data. So AI processes information, developed algorithms, and through this development of algorithm and machine learning, it learns how to function well. So if the initial data that we feed into the system is biased, AI reproduces the same biases. For example, if previous hiring decision ended up hiring, for the most part, white men, it leads to algorithm favoring only white men. So if among job candidates who applied for the same position, there are racialized women, AI system has learned that this white man, this being a white male, is a criteria, and chooses and uses this criteria to screen the new or the future resumes. So it reproduces the same biases. Rejection, this is another example of biased algorithms. So if previous decision-making, so I already mentioned that this is how it works. You feed into the system previous hiring decisions, so machine learning happens, and AI knows how it should make decisions. If our previous decision-making only hired white men, being a white and a man is are two key criteria that should be used for screening in candidates. Or if experienced candidates have been always rejected, again, AI builds an algorithm and learns that experienced candidates should be excluded. So here, discrimination based on age happens. And repetition of the same biases by AI, or repetition of feeding into the system the same the same hiring decisions which are biased, creates a pattern, and it will be ingrained in algorithm generations, and it's very hard to even detect them. So this is one of the major downturns of using artificial intelligence for hiring decisions, because technically AI relies on machine learning. So it relies on historical data. AI systems rely on training data. These weaknesses are all interrelated. So when we say historical data are fed into the system, it means that artificial intelligence learns based on previous decisions. So we can address this issue, and I will discuss this toward the end of this presentation. I can see one of the students raise their hand. Can you please take a note? And I will take your question by the end of this presentation. But please take note so you don't forget. So this algorithm-based system can result in repetition of the same discriminatory decision-making in hiring and selection. It can happen in promotion also. Yes, it's fast. Yes, it can potentially be objective. But as you can see, based on the studies, it reproduces the same biases. And one very famous story about this mistake happened in Amazon, when they use artificial intelligence for hiring purposes, and they noticed that after a while, the only people that are hired are white men. So they noticed that they technically decided to use artificial intelligence in order to be discrimination-free, bias-free, but they saw that it reproduces the same biases. I provided here one visual for you to see how in reality this happens. So imagine this group of people are interview panel, and they are supposed to manage interview and run interview for several job candidates who are invited to be interviewed. Each of these persons come to the interview panel with their biases. Some of them have gender biases, some of them race biases, age biases, or a combination, or other types of biases. You can have bias about people with disability. These are just examples, and they are not limited to only just these three biases. So they come to the interview scene with these biases, they make their decision, and eventually someone gets hired. So these hiring decisions, the information about this hiring decision will feed into the system, and AI system, which is here, learns from previous decision making, because as I mentioned, artificial intelligence basically works on historical data. It tries to learn what is the criteria based on what has happened previously. And it's the only thing that artificial intelligence has. And even for those of you who work with, for example, ChatGPT or other generative AI system, it always mentions that mistakes might happen because it learns even through what you put in there. So you cannot just rely 100% on what AI learns, because it can be biased. First, it can be biased. Our focus today is on recruitment and selection. So it can be biased because previous recruitment and selection system were biased, and this historical data, which is fed into the system, creates the same biases. But again, because it's based on learning, if you as a user put in something there, it again learns, and this learning can be not 100% right. So what happens after this machine learning happens? Now this AI system replaces these people, these human, and does the job of assessing job candidate. And if these two job candidates compete with each other in order to get the job, even if this lady is a better match, is their resume is even the, shows that there is a great fit between the skill set of this lady and job requirements, artificial intelligence rejects this candidate and hires this young guy because he has the privilege of being white and young and also a man. And because these three biases has been fed into the system, artificial intelligence has learned that these are the criteria and it should hire someone, a job candidate who has all of them. So eventually we make a very bad decision using AI-based system because it's based on previous hiring decision, which has been biased. So what we can do to improve the system? One way is to incorporate data analytics to improve AI-driven recruitment and selection system. So in candidate sourcing, earlier in this presentation, I mentioned that one of the ways that artificial intelligence can help us in recruitment and selection function as an HR is sourcing candidates. So in order to incorporate data analytics to improve the system, you can compare different sourcing channels, for example, LinkedIn, Indeed, other channels, website of the company, and analyze the data using data analytics to identify how much time was required to attract the candidate. And when AI did that, compare, again, use data analytics, compare, for example, LinkedIn with Indeed, with the website of the company, with information that educational institution, provided in terms of referral, and AI used them. So you use data analytics to calculate the time that was required to locate those candidates and see which one is less costly in terms of time. As you know, time is the most important factor when you are recruiting and selecting, because the longer it takes, it means that that position is vacant and the person who was supposed to be there to add value by producing or providing services is not there. So the company is missing opportunity of, being productive, and we don't want that. So we analyzed, there are several tools in data analytics that you can use them to analyze this historical data and determine the sources that have yielded the highest quality candidates. So it's not only about the time, it's about the quality as well, because after you hired a job candidate after 6 months, based on their performance review, you can tell to what extent they are doing good. And with data analytics perspective, as you know, we deal with evidences, we deal with data. So we have everything, but the thing is we need to have the perspective, the approach in order to address this problem of artificial intelligence. Job candidates and new hire list analysis, analyzing the list of job candidates and new hires to catch biases. How we do this? So using, again, data analytics, we can compare the initial list of job candidates that we ask AI to do screening. As you know, for those of you who might not be familiar with the steps of recruitment and selection. So basically you apply as a job applicant, and your resumes, cover letters, and other supporting documents are stored in the company's website. So eventually 500, for example, job applicants or job candidates apply for the position, and you have a list of 500 people who are women, men, racially or gender diverse individuals, people with disabilities. So you compare this list with what AI has produced as the shortlist, because the first step, again, after the candidates applied, is to screen resumes and create a short list. For example, out of this 500, you might come up with a list of 10 people that you need to run and conduct interviews in order to decide who is the best one to give the job offer. So you need to create first, and for the very first step is create a short list. So you compare the initial list of 500 people with these 10 people that AI produced and analyze the data. How many women, racially diverse, gender diverse, candidates with disability are in the list? Is it only men? Is it only white men? So it tells you about something which is happening here, which is the biases that happened, and you have to address them. Identify patterns and trends and explore if they are discriminatory. You can, if you keep using data analytics in order to improve your AI-driven recruitment selection system, you can find the patterns that AI keep repeating in its reports. So with using data analytics, you can first catch those trends and then interpret them if they are discriminatory. You can ask these questions or potentially other questions. If you reflect on that, you can add more questions to discover and improve the AI system. You can ask, does the AI system always create a short list of only white men? Does the AI system always pick graduates from specific universities? Are job candidates with international experiences removed from the shortlist? Only Canadian work experience is valid? So for those of you who are HR, you're familiar with legislation about human rights and the fact that it's illegal if we screen out a person whose qualifications matches the job requirements only because the person has a disability, or if the person is a woman, or if this person is an immigrant and is not a Canadian citizen. So but the thing is, those biases that are most of the time unconscious biases unfortunately happen. And when you fit into the system, AI reproduces them. So you need to assess the data to see if AI keeps, repeating the discriminatory decision making. So my other suggestion for addressing, for improving those systems is using historical data to compare AI performance prediction for new hires and their real performance. So we said one of the positive or strengths of AI system is that it's fast and it can predict because it's based on the data. So in order to improve this system, we have to compare, we use data analytics. You have the information about the job candidate. At the time, it was a job candidate. So you had, for example, John, who was a job candidate 6 months ago, and he competes with 15 other people in order to get this job. Eventually, you gave the job offer to John, and he started working 6 months ago. So during these 6 months, either you have done 2 times of performance appraisal or 1 time. So you have a questionnaire that assessed John's performance in his job and its data. You have also the questionnaire or the questions that you asked John in the interview scene. Again, data. And essentially, the interview or any other assessment that you manage during recruitment selection is for predicting a job candidate performance. So you want to know, if you imagine that John is hired for a customer service position, in the interview scene, in the interview step, you ask questions to predict to what extent John's skill set, qualification, matches the requirements to function or perform very well as a customer service. So you ask some questions about, being on time, being polite and friendly to the customer, addressing their complaints in a very professional manner. So you ask interview questions. Either you ask John, what did you do if an angry customer called you and, complained about the product or the services of our company? So John shares information. You assess John, gave him 5 out of 5. Another question 4 out of 5, some questions 3, and eventually he gets a very good mark. Overall, that brings him to the top of the list and you hire him. So now that he has worked for 6 months in the performance appraisal stage or step, you ask some questions. You compare basically performance of John with the questionnaire, assign him some, some rates, and now you come up with data. You can compare this with what AI has predicted and to see to what extent AI has done a good job. Data analytics tools are great, and you can use those systems in order to run this comparison and to find out to what extent AI has done its job really good and it has been valid in its prediction. Candidate experience analysis. In another part of recruitment and selection is about candidate experience, and it's very much important because the way that job candidates are managed, including those who eventually get hired, and their experience matters for the company's brand, even for the future performance of new hires. So you need to analyze, first of all, you need to collect information and assess the work of AI by collecting information about the users of AI. One of the major users of this system, AI-based recruitment selection system, are job candidates. So you distribute questionnaires about like their satisfaction about the whole steps, the way that AI assessed them in different steps, the questions that were asked, and so on. And using data analytics, find out which areas are not, AI is not doing very well in which areas and address those. How to measure success after implementing and incorporating data analytics in AI. So imagine you used some of these suggestions that I just mentioned, some of these or all of them, and now you want to measure the effectiveness of incorporating data analytics, and you want to know to what extent using data analytics has helped you to improve your recruitment and selection, which uses AI. So you have some measures, time to fill. Did incorporating data analytics suggestion really reduce time to fill as an indicator of improved efficiency? As you know, again, in recruitment and selection, time is a very important factor. And one of the end results that we really seek to improve is time to fill. And secondly, quality of new hires. We can use, again, data analytics to see to what extent analytics suggestion has improved the quality of new hires. Again, how we can measure the quality of new hire. With data analytics approach, you can technically measure everything, and you can compare the performance of new hires after improvement of AI system using data analytics, and again, compare their performance with, similar new hires who were hired with AI system before this improvement. So you want to see to what extent you were successful in addressing those areas for improvement. And one other important factor that you want to see to what extent AI has data analytics has helped you to address is those biases. So you implemented those suggestions, and you want to see to what extent now AI is a little bit bias-free. So you measure to what extent biases such as unconscious bias or those demographic biases that I shared earlier have been reduced. So we want to see to what extent AI is not excluding any more people with disability, is not excluding any more women, is not excluding people with racial people who belong to racial minority. And candidate satisfaction, did incorporating analytics suggestions improve job satisfaction? And again, you can technically measure this after you distribute questionnaires and using data analytics, basically analyze all of this. So now that we are towards the end of our presentation, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Again, please use chat in order to put your answers. But before, let me see how many. Okay, so AI-driven recruitment and selection can be biased depending on the data that is fed into the system and machine learning. Is it true or false? Let me see. Exactly, thank you. And question 2, data analytics can catch demographic biases in AI-driven recruitment and selection system. Is that true or false? True, thank you. And finally, data analytics can only help with improving efficiency and not the quality of hiring decision. Is it true or false? Exactly, it's false. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Now it's time for your questions. So Ahmed, can you help me with questions that our audience asked or in the chat? Yes. Or yeah, sure. Thank you.
Hello, Professor.
Hi.
Hi. So I'm just going to lead the way for the questions, so that's more systematic.
Sure.
Actually, I would like to ask Satendra if he's open to kind of asking questions directly, so that you can address them right away.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Satendra. Is it possible to unmute?
Yeah, sure. Hi, how are you guys?
Hi.
Okay, so my first question was, is there any way to calibrate? So what I meant was, like, how you mentioned that AI can be very biased. And because of the information that it pulls up from previous candidates that we hired, and it saves all or stores that information. And then we try to determine the future candidates from previous data. So I was wondering, is there any way around it to maybe not put in the demographic information? Let's say we do not put any gender or age or any that kind of information that we know that will be biased. We don't put that information in there. Will that still give us will that help us to recruit or select candidates efficiently? I'm not sure if I'm asking it right.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you for your.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you for your question. So, good question. As you know, those of you who have experience working as an HR, you know that we use, job applicants' resume in order to run the first step of hiring, which is screening resumes. So we technically use the same information that they send. We do not change anything. Probably it's not practical. It's, I understand, you were thinking about any potential ways or intervention so you can address this discrimination. In order to address this, we can, basically mitigate those biases by checking the information that we feed into the system. So instead of removing any identifier information like your gender of a person or like experience, when someone has several work experiences, it kind of reveals their age range. So you cannot remove those information. It's not actionable. But something that you can do is to make sure that the information that you feed into the system does not have those patterns of, excluding people who are diverse in terms of, race, gender, age, disability, in order to make sure that AI is not learning from them. Because if it's something which keeps repeating, AI learns that it's a criterion and it makes the decision based on that. So great question, but again, we have to make sure that it's doable. we can't remove every piece of information which is revealing. But as you know, in other countries, they sometimes put their photos in their resumes, you know, and we always train our students that it's not something that should happen here, because it probably prepares the scene for, you know, being discriminated against. So we can remove that, and it should be removed. But about other pieces of information, we can't, unfortunately, do this.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
My second question was like, so in order for the AI to help us to screen for the new candidates, how does it determine their gender based on from their names? Because sometimes when we're looking at resumes, we don't know if they are male or female. Like from my name, you couldn't tell if I'm female or male. So how does the AI determine that? Or it doesn't do that?
Okay, so again, AI basically works. It's you know how AI works is based on algorithm. It's based on machine learning that develops algorithm. So probably today AI doesn't know that you are a she or he, but with time it develops that, it learns that. With Western names, it's much easier for AI because it's extensively used in North America. But again, it has some biases, even if it doesn't know if you are a girl or a boy, a guy. So it makes some assumption. But what I'm trying to say is AI develops that, learns from that, even if it's a mistake. And if I don't know if you have enough time, probably if I can find it after a very quick break, I can find the link and show you how machine learning happens. I don't know, Ahmed or Dr. Robin, if you give me some permission, if you take 2 minutes, so I found the link and show you how machine learning happens. It's fun. Okay, great. So I will show you. It's not necessarily correct. Sometimes it's correct, sometimes it's not. It's based on machine learning. So the more that you feed into the system correct information, it learns correctly. And in terms of biases, again, repetition builds this pattern. So
Right. Got it. Yeah, I totally understand. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for answering my questions.
no worries.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Ace, if you're still on call, would you like to go ahead and ask your question in person?
I feel like Satinda had the same question, so she already answered it. Thank you.
No worries.
We have a few more questions. Someone would like to know, you mentioned there are biases based on races, gender, and so on. There are also particular roles that might be aimed to help the marginalized communities or the smaller groups of people. How does AI contribute in that process?
Okay, so as you know, very great question. So as you know, in equity plans, we basically develop some plans to just locate job candidates from, for example, Aboriginal community or people with disability. So we write in advance that we want to hire, for example, 5 women, 3 people with disabilities. So AI can help us. We feed into the system the criterion. But the thing is, it has to be something that happens on purpose, not by mistake. If you want to locate job candidates who are only people with disabilities, the criteria should be that, and the results should be that. But if you want to hire from diverse background, not only people with disabilities, racial background, with different racial background, with other aspects of diversity, AI should not make a mistake and exclude them. But I'm trying to say that you have to check what AI produce as a shortlist. It should not be something that has happened based on the patterns, based on the algorithm that you don't like them, like the case that happened in Amazon. Those of you who are interested, you can search, you can Google it and learn about the whole story, how it happened. They eventually decided to use AI to improve their diversity and the rate of hiring people with diverse background and other aspects of diversity. But the result was something that they really didn't want. So they noticed for the first time that AI can be as biased as human because it relies on those information that you feed into the system. So it has to be managed, and data analytics is a huge help in this regard.
Great. And also, someone would like to know, Wait, let me just frame this question right. So if we're using a system, an AI-generated system, it's a non-human process to select candidates. At the same time, there's a particular accountability towards the candidates that get rejected in this purpose. So how does a company or a firm justify their AI process? Also, what are the legal implications that the company could face? What are the regulations that the company could face? So if you can elaborate a bit more on that.
Sure. Sure. So in Canada, it's legally required when we send an invite to a job candidate, we need to, as one of the bullet points of our letter, we have to emphasize if they need any accommodation, they need to let the HR department as soon as possible. And as you know, there are some job candidates who are, we call them neurodiverse people, for example, people with anxiety. And if they have been assessed with AI system, which is like set based on some timeline, because you go through anxiety, you need some additional time, you will function very bad, very bad, very poor compared to someone who doesn't have anxiety. Your qualifications matches the job requirements, but you have anxiety and AI doesn't know that, and you have not let the HR person know. So if anything happens and you get rejected, it's on you as a job candidate, because in the letter, it should be part of the letter, the invite letter. If you need any accommodation, you should let us know. And part of the accommodation is additional time or any kind of accommodation that the job candidate needs.
And would you say that there would be more legal implications, because human resources and recruitment has always been a very human-based approach? So would you say with the rise of AI in recruitment, would you see more legal implications for companies where people might start questioning the processes, they might start questioning the quality of candidates that an AI could ideally recruit, since there might not be keywords in the particular resume and so on?
Yeah, thank you again. Very great question. So with advancement of AI, there are several implications for companies. They need to make sure that they have adjusted their, invite letter, even the whole process, because it needs some adjustment in order to make sure that it does not impose any legal liabilities on the company. So they make sure to address that by, providing more information and, clarifying about the steps. But again, job candidates should be aware of the process. And those of you who are interested, this area is a huge area of interest, research interest, and it's advancing every day. Even when we are asleep, people are working on that. And, one area that have been found that AI can be, discriminatory is about facial expression, because as you know, they are developed for the most part in North America, and the information about facial expression are Western facial expressions. So AI makes a mistake about people who are not from Canada or North America. So there are several areas that we have to address from HR point of view. It's progressing, but we are not still there. But we have to think about. So you are future people who work in HR or relevant area, data analytics. And data analytics can help us a lot, because we have tools that can, in a very fast and efficient manner, provide analysis so we can address them. We are not yet there, but we have these tools. And the main point here is our awareness of the potential areas that AI can be discriminatory.
Also, if you had to give us a percentage between how much of the process should be AI generated versus how much should be human-based, what would be your ideal percentage in your perspective?
Unfortunately, there is no studies that have been done about that, but I'm aware that it's progressing. It is first started just with screening resumes. So about 7 years ago, if you searched about AI and its application in recruitment selection, for the most part, it was used for just a screening. But I was part of its project team 3-4 years ago that we used AI for assessing job candidates for managerial positions. So we designed assessment that AI managed. For example, it was about your crisis management. So you have the movement of your mouse and the time that you needed to answer a question, a case study or a simulation, should show that you are fast. And sometimes you need to collect information, and based on the collected information, make a decision. So AI could assess your ability, your managerial skills. So what I'm trying to say that it has started with just a screening resume, the very initial step in, in recruitment selection. And now we use it for assessing managerial positions. So it's progressing, but about the percentage, it's not something which is the concern of HR. Basically, our concern is to use AI as a resource that can help us to be more efficient, faster, and also increase the quality and effectiveness of our recruitment selection function and hire, more quality job candidates, which are and be more inclusive.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. Thank you for sharing everything with us.
No worries.
I don't see any other further questions. If anyone wants to share anything, then feel free to do so now. I think we can wrap up this session. I would really like to thank you, Professor Minoo, for coming here and giving us an insightful perspective towards people analytics. And I'm pretty certain that a lot of us would like to kind of explore this domain in the future and kind of improve the recruitment process in various companies. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you so much. Before we go, I wanted to thank Dr. Robin for his support along the way. I remember a couple of months ago, he helped me and shared the opportunity for sharing this presentation, and also Ahmad for this. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Robin. And I have one quick link that I need 1 minute to find it. If you're interested, to show you how machine learning happens, just give me 1 minute so I can find it, if that's okay with everyone.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, and we still have time, I think.
No
Just give me one minute. I try to be fast. Thank you. Okay, I'm back. So let me share my screen again. So this shows how machine learning happens. So I click on this, and please listen carefully. What AI guess what I'm drawing? So as you could see here, based on the previous information that was fed into this AI system, it first thought that it's a potato. I was just drawing a face, and in each step, it tried to, use its previous information in order to guess what it is. And sometimes it made a mistake. So this is basically what machine learning is in a very, very, simple form. So I can share this link so you can explore more. Yeah, this is how machine learning happens. It makes mistakes. The more people feed in the information, it learns better.
I think that was a great example to show to everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. And
Thanks
it was
a lot
great
for the session.